Hey, welcome to Open House with yours truly, Jesse Meadow. This is our inaugural show at Schoolcraft Digital. We're really trying to use this show to advocate for independent schools, try to get some insights on how we can best structure the enrollment funnel to be a little bit more digital. Our first inaugural show, obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about Schoolcraft Digital, a little bit about the show, and then obviously introduce the leadership team here at Schoolcraft Digital. So without further ado, let me bring them on. We have Chris Mitchell, who's our principal co-founder. We have Mark Lefton, who's our chief digital strategist, the man behind the scenes that makes it all work.
The wizard, as we call him in the office.
The wizard. So for that, we can get started. This is going to be kind of in tandem with our guest blog series. We're using our blogging platform as a way for admissions professionals and heads of schools all across the United States to advocate, to bring some insights, some expertise, and just share knowledge with the industry as a whole. So, with that, I'll jump into Chris and, tell us a little bit about yourself, background, how you got here, let the people know who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So my experience in independent schools, one, I'm a product of it. I went to boarding school, shout out to Montverde Academy in my younger days, 4 years. That's actually, fun fact, where I met Jesse. And then later found my way back there and was the director of development, overseeing our advancement efforts, communications, marketing, and really was able to dive into that aspect of the academy, understanding the business needs and why, investing in these schools are important, especially non-for-profit ones. And then I jumped into digital marketing with my other background, which is politics. And now I've kind of taken that and, working with yourself, Jesse, and Mark, develop Schoolcraft Digital, which we are using the same tools and techniques to really take the enrollment funnel that is used in those K through 12 independent schools and then digitize it. And so that was really kind of, what our vision here was. And I'm excited to be a part of this team to kind of bring that to fruition.
Awesome. Thanks. Mark, how about you, bud?
Yeah, so I have over 20 years of experience in New York working for big agencies and big brands like Coke and Budweiser and stuff like that, working in a lot of different agencies. And I was always kind of an entrepreneur at heart. And I started my second agency when I moved to Florida. And one of my really good friends was always like, Mark, why do you work on so many different types of accounts? It's really hard to learn everything. And like, you should just focus on one industry like real estate or something. And I always ignored him because I always like to learn new things. I really love learning new industries all the time. When I met Chris, he was doing another agency that had a niche. And I was like, when we started working together, I really realized the benefits of really knowing an industry really well. So when he decided he wanted to start Schoolcraft with Jesse, I just love the idea that we could really, really like immerse ourselves in an industry, know it really, really well, and provide such an amazing level of expertise to our clients. And just in like the schools we've worked with so far, we always learn new things and we're always able to pass that knowledge on to other schools as well.
Yeah, no, that's huge. I mean, you've been a major part of the growth of the company and obviously the growth of my expertise in digital marketing. So, I think your 20 years of experience in a variety of different methods, it's really caught me up to speed. Because obviously my background is more in the admission side of things. I also went to private school. Like Chris said, I survived those years in the dorm with him. But got a brother along with my tenure over at Montverde Academy. So, he was doing some great things with digital marketing. And then on the school side, the admission side, we saw that there was, a real need to update this antiquated system that they're using for the enrollment marketing. And you bring on a guy with the experience like Mark, you bring on the development side from Chris, the admission side from me, and you get this trifecta of what we're trying to bring to independent schools. So, with that, Chris, I'll jump into, why Schoolcraft? Where did this come from? I mean, take us on the journey of me and you having the conversation a few years ago, coming up with ideas, getting excited about them, and going through the motions.
Well, I mean, once I left, Marvard Academy to go back into a field that I spent over a decade in which is politics, just like in that area, digital advertising we're seeing tremendous growth and more of that really taking center stage as political campaigns communicate with voters. So I started Statecraft Digital, which we obviously helped communicate campaigns message on the digital platforms. And so as we went through this, Jesse and I would talk constantly about what independent schools are doing, how they're doing it from enrollment management side of things. And it was kind of like an eureka moment where we were just like, why can't we do what we do digitally for politics and translate that into K through 12, especially since to Jesse's point, this industry seems to be antiquated in some areas. They are not the quickest to change. And I think that as these schools look to improve their enrollment model and digitize it, I felt like there was an area where we could, to your point, have this trifecta where it takes the experience of our team that we've created digitally with your experience, Jesse, knowing enrollment management as intimately as you do, and of course, Mark's 25 plus years of digital advertising, and I felt like there was a real opportunity here. So, Jesse and I kind of held hands and jumped off the cliff, and here we are. And so I think we've seen a lot of excitement early on, which is good as a company. You always want to see that, and working with clients. It feels like we're always kind of adapting, especially with COVID. I mean, I'm sure we might talk about this a little bit later on, but we decided to jump off that cliff right into a pandemic, and so we had to really be agile and versatile in how we were trying to not only grow our business, bring on clients, but also work with them navigating something no one's seen, right? And how do we do that on the digital space? And so I think, taking Jesse's expertise in enrollment management, my understanding of how independent schools work, especially from the business side, as director of development, a lot of times I was there to either help, finance or get money for that next capital project, or like many independent schools, fill that tuition gap. Because tuition doesn't cover all the operational expenses for 95% of the schools. And so, understanding that and how enrollment fills in, I feel like we've got a really solid team here at Schoolcraft Digital, and being able to not only take a look at what's going on in the K through 12 industry, but not only in the political and then elsewhere, because we have clients that are outside of both of these niches. And so we're able to really take what's working in other spaces and apply it to K through 12. And so there's a lot of different dynamics moving on that I know we'll get into. But it's really exciting to move into this market, especially now where I feel like we can bring a lot of benefit to our clients.
No, definitely. That's a great explanation. And there was a lot of benefits from coming on board and really building this out for people. And the biggest thing that we are noticing on calls is there is a lot of interest and a lot of noise in sort of the digital strategy side of things. But as far as the execution, the implementation, the tactics, those are kind of new things that we're finding we're needing to explain a little bit more. So Mark, from the digital end of things, why is enhancing your digital marketing capabilities or your reach, why is that going to be good for any business, but really coming into the K-12 school market?
Well, I mean, any of these purchases that a parent's going to make is going to be it's a huge ticket item for them, even if they're wealthy and have means. Spending $30,000 to $50,000 on something takes a lot of convincing. It's not like someone's going to just see a school and just say, okay, I'm sending my kids here. With e-commerce, even buying a $20 item, it takes on average 14 touches before someone decides to click an ad if they're interested. And we see that all the time. There's people marketing just different digital tools to us, and I always feel like if they're worth their salt, they'll retarget me enough that I will get back to it when I'm ready. So I think what digital allows us to do is, with things like retargeting and geofencing, find people more efficiently that are already in the market, and also keep telling the story one chapter at a time. You have to deliver a different message depending on where someone is in their decision-making process. If they're just thinking about sending their kids to private school, then you have to tell them why they should send them there. And if they've already decided that they're going to send their kids to private school, then you have to say why your school. And then that goes all the way down to retention of like, why keep your kids here? And you know, each story that you can tell can be about the school's heritage and the community that they have, and how great the teachers are, and maybe that some amazing people have graduated and are alumni, and on and on and on. And digital allows you to really, you know, tell those chapters, but know who needs to see what information when.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there's been, you know, it started with, you know, your SEO, your website optimization. You flow through. Most schools are doing social media updates and storytelling through those kind of methods. And, you know, but as far as that step-by-step basis, you know, there's really not a whole strategy around it at the current moment. Mostly it's, you know, trying to get them feel like they're part of the school. And obviously through Facebook, you know, they're already friends with the page, or parents or families in general. So, you know, adding that next level. You mentioned some tactics in there, you know, geofencing. What is geofencing? How would that might benefit something like a school?
That's a great question, Jesse. So when you're on your mobile device, we can actually basically draw a fence around a very small area. So it could be a competitor's school. It could be your own school. If someone maybe just walked through campus and wanted to check it out, we can do it based on how many times someone goes. So we could filter out, you know, people there every day who are staff versus someone who just came once and left. We could also do, like, if someone's going to a Solvant Learning Center, and it basically allows us to, in real time, track people who either have an interest in looking at schools or have an interest in their kids on a deeper level than other parents, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, what do you think? What do you think some of the major impacts, you know, that from our experience in, you know, when we were working in the schools, if we were to have some of these capabilities, what do you feel that it would have been most useful?
Yeah, so I think a lot of what we're seeing in the digital area that allows schools be a lot smarter with their dollars. I know Mark throws around this saying all the time of random acts of marketing, which I think kind of really articulate what some of the challenges independent schools face. And so I think when you take these tactics and you combine it with that storytelling element, you're really able to layer on different campaigns simultaneously. You know, Jess, we talk with our clients a lot of times about working them down the funnel. And so we're able now to do that on multiple tracks, depending on where they are in that funnel, you know, establishing the brand, engaging interest. You know, some of the cool things that I get geeked out about is like the fact that we can tell, you know, how long someone looks at a video, right?
Mm-hmm.
How long they're engaging in our content. And so for us as marketers, that tells us a level of interest and engagement. And so I think, you know, taking the tools that are being used not only on programmatic platforms, but also social media, beyond the big brand of Facebook, Instagram, moving into some other social media platforms. You know, let's not forget who our targeted audience is, right? And that is, you know, our generation, millennial parents, Gen X parents, and now even some Gen Z parents. And how are they engaging in content? How are they doing that? And so, you know, a lot of them are not getting their information or getting, you know, brand awareness from direct mail. Not happening, right? You know, maybe some broadcast, if TV, depending on what it is, but a lot of that they're consuming it on their mobile devices, on their laptops, on the laptops, on their iPads, etc. And so you've got to be able to, as an institution, get in front of those prospective families. And so tactics, to your question, like geofencing, like working with data providers to get in front of those ideal prospect families based on whether it be amount of kids that are in the household, income of that household, a variety of different factors allows us to target those and really at the end of the day craft a tailored funnel for that family. And that's really what we're able to do, is craft that tailored family to get them to where they are interested in our client schools, to get them to go to campus, do a tour, or now do a virtual tour in our world of COVID. And so there's a lot of different things that we can do once we come on board with a client and really understand what their need is. I think we kind of knew this, right? But I think one of the things that we're finding out really quickly is that not all schools are created equal from the sense of the problems that they're facing. And so really tailoring that and getting those quick hits, but also building the stage for that next enrollment cycle, right? And how do we do that? And so there's a lot of cool things that we can do digitally that just have not been available for independent schools. And I think one of the things, if I can too, Jesse, is that separates us from, say, other ad agencies or marketing agencies that might be, in their school's neck of the woods, is we know the industry. We've worked in this industry. We know how best to bring these things to market. And so I think when you take all that and combine it, that allows people to get a better product and, of course, help with their enrollment at the end of the day.
No, that's interesting because it's not all built the same, and depending on what we're looking for, we've had schools that are really trying to tackle the problems that are in public schools. We have schools that are trying to compete with other private schools in the area, schools that are completely by themselves and don't really have that issue. So you really have to kind of change that strategy based off of what the school situation is, what their goals are, and furthermore, what capabilities are. Sometimes they don't all have the same capabilities. We've worked with some schools that have 6 people in this department, and then some that are a one-man shop, which is kind of more common in independent schools. But the tactics can be very interesting. Before the initial setup of it, the initial ad buy, or those kind of things are kind of similar as far as the process goes. But I think the huge benefit that the schools can now get into is this retargeting. Being able to have first-party data, being able to collect that data as campaigns are moving along, optimizing, separating, this family watched the video the whole time, this family did not. This area seems more interested than this area. You're able to really gain a lot more efficiency in how you spend your budget, rather than just having that one-time buy where the information got out. But how did it got out? Who interacted with it? How long did they interact? Gauging that level of interest so that you can come back. Enrollment's not one season. Enrollment's, especially when you add in branding, this is something that's going to be going along year round after year round. So how are you able to optimize that? I think schools have a big advantage these days by having that first party data and being able to retarget based on that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if I can for a second to throw a curveball here, which is,
we love curveballs. Rays in the World Series. Let's get the curveballs.
That's right. Go Rays. Mark, with your vast experience coming into this niche market, what are some of the differences that you see or opportunities that may not be present in other, other areas or other sectors or markets? What are you seeing, spending the last 5 months with us, kind of getting everything going?
I think so far across all our clients, there's an enthusiasm on their internal marketing teams or with their headmaster of just a great sense of pride in the school and willingness to learn and work with us. The perfect world is an agency goes to a client and the client has people working there who are really good at what they do, and the agency's really good at what they do, and everyone gets together as a team. But what I've seen is really great ideas managed by middle managers who only want to do as much as they possibly can to not get fired on either side, and then everything just moves along at this glacial pace, 1 millimeter at a time. And I remember being on calls with clients where I had this really great idea I was excited about, and the client's like, let's just come up with some hashtags by next week. That'll be enough to show our bosses we did something. Yeah. Whereas with these schools, it's like there's always been like all right, let's get going. We need to enroll more students. We want more people to come here and learn, and that's really exciting. So I think, like, going back to your point about the random acts of marketing and how every school is different, the consistent thing has been that the enthusiasm is there. The random acts of marketing thing can come from really just like not understanding how to put all the ingredients together and make a meal. Everyone's doing a great job at cutting the onions and getting everything all prepared, and they mean well, and they're doing the best they can in their area of expertise, but no one's really pulling everything together and going, okay, here's the story we'll want to tell in what order. But also nowadays, everything affects every other thing. So your content marketing affects your SEO, your social media affects your SEO, and everything, vice versa. So that, and I think for us, the difference is when we approach a client, a lot of agencies not only don't know the niche very well, but they have a thing that they're trying to sell, and we're agnostic. So we're going to come in, and if you've got an amazing SEO person, we're not going to try to sell you SEO. We're going to make sure that the SEO is getting all the attention they need from all the other departments. So in some cases, we're just like coming in and doing the strategy and helping make things more efficient, and also on the admissions and enrollment side. Or we might come in and fill a need with our internal team where necessary. But a lot of agencies are full service and they want to sell every single thing that they do. And the first thing they may do is say, hey, let's go fire your whole team and take all the money. And we're not like that. We want to come in and like help good people be more successful and help that passion turn into results.
Yeah, and the schools really have the best handle on what makes them great, their history, their heritage, their messaging that they want to go, where we're learning that they need to kind of adapt a little bit to is those digital advertisements versus the print advertisements. They're set up, they have great imagery, they have great ideas, they want to get this going, they just don't have that experience in that digital advertisements. But Chris, what are some things that you might be I guess not shocked, but we're on these calls and we learn something new every time we're on a call. And being nationwide, we're hearing things about Hawaii and then about Arkansas, California, Florida. What are some things that you're hearing on the calls about where a company like this might benefit them?
Well, I think obviously we've said it several times. The elephant in the room is COVID, right? And how schools are handling this unprecedented situation. I think one of the things, and a lot of this has to do with this is where our worlds marry, right? With politics and this is the politics on the ground. What happened, a lot of these schools saw an actual tick up in enrollment. And so, we've started talking to our clients about retention and efforts around that, which we, 3 or 4 months ago, if you'd asked me that a lot of our conversations would be around retention and how we can help with that, I would laugh because I'd be like, what happened, right? And so I think that is a interesting conversation that is happening. I also think, a lot of the calls that we're on with our consultation or when we do an audit of a school, is kind of understanding or realizing that they have a notion of what digital marketing and advertising is. They don't fully comprehend the complexity of it and how to navigate it. Right. And I think that is an area where we're able to bring value to them because we're able to say, listen, you don't need to be the experts. All right. You don't need to know, what platform better to reach this demographic or this group, et cetera. And so I think through conversation, it's us bringing them kind of up to speed on what's going on in the market and how best to position their brand and their institution, and helping them navigate it. And also, sometimes, you get in this situation, we all do, where you don't know what you don't know. right? And some of these schools don't know about different things they could be doing that is more effective and helps to the bottom line, meaning that it reduces their marketing costs to begin with. I think right now, the one thing that is for sure is that all the schools kind of went into this, panic is a strong word, but I'll say it, panic mode, right? And like, where are we going to cut costs? How are we going to save costs? We want to keep our faculty and staff. How do we do it without having to lay people off? And so I think that they're looking at different ways, and for us to make sure that their dollar is more effective and efficient is very helpful. So through our conversations, Jesse, it's all been different approaches, but they've all kind of had that same narrative in it. And so I think that what we're able to do when we come on and do that audit is we really get an idea of what they're doing and how they could be doing it better. And so, we see it as a partnership, not really as a vendor. And that's the other part of these conversations, Jesse, which are interesting, is because a lot of times when you come on to these calls or you start to onboard them, it's like, well, you're just a vendor, right? No, we're here to help you digitize your enrollment model and being able to spend resources in an effective way that's going to get you that ROI that you need to meet your enrollment goals, to make your head of school happy, to make the board of trustees happy, right? And be able to bring in prospective families that fit your culture, which is another thing, which is full circle to what I just mentioned, what helps with retention. Right? Making sure that those families fit in that culture will help you with your retention. And so at the end of the day, I think it's been educational for us, Jesse. I think it would be safe to say of kind of all the different conversations we've been having. It's been also, able to kind of like shore up some of our beliefs and thoughts in the market too, of like how schools should be doing and seeing those results. But not all ROIs are created equal. What one strategy worked for a school, in the Midwest might not work for a school on the West Coast. And so you have to be able to see those indicators of what strategy to deploy. So, I'm sure we could talk for hours about this, but it's kind of exciting because, one, I think the three of us would agree our jobs are never boring, right? We'll always kind of learning what's going on, staying ahead of the curve. This is an industry, not only Schoolcraft, Statecraft, any other crafts out there that do digital marketing. If you get complacent or lazy, it will pass you by. And so staying ahead of the curve and seeing what's going on around the country, especially being in different markets, is definitely helpful.
Yeah, and I think we've actually heard a lot of similarities in the sense with COVID. It's just everyone, no matter what industry you're in, but especially independent schools and private schools, we're in uncharted territories. You could be an expert in one area, but this is all new no matter what. You bring what you know to the table and hope to navigate the right decisions. And kind of to your point, you worry about your budgets. Obviously the biggest one, because there's real people behind those budgets, and how do you retain that? One of the biggest selling points of any school is their community. While their missions might be different, their goals and programs may differ, that sense of community, that sense of involvement that's found at private schools, that makes them so great. You don't want to break that up because of budgetary constraints, but you have to live in reality. So I think, a lot of the calls that we've had, it has been, optimist. They've had a lot of optimism to them, but they are creatively trying to find ways to keep the students that they might have gotten an unexpected boost from, or to, continue those enrollment funnels given the handicaps that are presented with COVID-19. I think we covered a lot today. We had a real good conversation about Schoolcraft Digital, about digital marketing in general, how it can be applied to the school market today. And really that's what this show is going to be about. Open House is really going to be a little forum for professionals to come on here and give some insights, talk about some industry standards, talk about some trends that may be going on, or a specific area of expertise. We have our guest blog series where we're going to be having admissions professionals, enrollment marketers, as well as heads of school, kind of write some content pieces on a specific topic. We'll be sharing sharing that on our social pages. So definitely go out and like and follow us. And then we're going to bring them on. We want to talk about it in a casual way, and present some new ideas, and maybe spark some new interest that can benefit your school. So Chris, Mark, I really appreciate the time today, explaining everything, and hope to see you next week. Same time, same place.
Thanks, Jesse.
All right, absolutely. Thanks.